I got very angry during the course of this write-up. This is possibly the most enraged anyone I've done a write-up on has ever made me. Shimon Cooperschmidt, later shortened to Shimon Cooper, was born in the very small community of Ayl in central Israel. If you were to ask Shimon about his past, you would likely be told the same story he had told the women in his life, that he was a decorated and senior Mossad agent or a senior IDF officer. He claimed he held a degree from Bar Ilan University and that he was once captured during a mission in Syria, where they held him in a prisoner of war camp. He spoke of a grand escape from a prisoner of war camp in Syria, although curiously other times he'd tell people he was held prisoner in Lebanon instead. Shimon produced framed plaques and commendations to support his claim. However, none of this was true. The only kernel of truth to be found was his enlistment in the IDF, and that's only because it's mandatory for all Jewish Israeli men to serve. He simply served the mandatory amount required, and then was discharged without experiencing any action. His background was far less high-profile than he claimed. Little is known about his real background, aside from the fact that he made a very small living as a taxi driver. Even his employment was something he would lie about, telling everyone he had a decent salary from a cozy position at a print shop, an industry he never worked in. He'd also sometimes claimed to work as a security guard or psychologist, both also lies. Shimon was, at heart, a fraud and a con artist. He told these stories in hopes of impressing women into dating him. In reality, he was still just a taxi driver. But that job wasn't glamorous enough. He made up lies about his employment as an excuse to leave women alone for hours on end. Sometimes he'd even say Mossad had called him back to duty. What Shimon would really be doing was courting other women, luring them into a false sense of security so he could take control of their assets. When he returned with more money, he would tell them that Mossad had simply paid him in cash for his latest mission to try to keep things discreet. Orit and Sharona were the first real threats to his deception when, in November 1993, Sharona learned she was Shimon's mistress rather than his girlfriend. Shimon considered this especially bad as he wanted to move into her much larger home. He had to act fast to keep his web of lies intact. He told Sharona that he had tried divorcing Orit, but that she had refused, was depressed, neglected their children, and constantly threatened suicide. In reality, Orit was only now beginning to suspect her husband's infidelity and was even considering hiring a private investigator to catch him. Shimon signed a mortgage cancellation document stipulating that if Orit died, the mortgage would be extinguished and the apartment would pass fully to him. On the night of January 17, 1994, Shimon told Sharona he needed to look after the kids at Orit's. Instead, he drugged Orit and suffocated her with a pillow. He ensured no marks were left. Afterward, he scattered pills and empty bottles across her body and bed to make it look like she had taken her own life. With his plan complete, Shimon called Orit's father and then an ambulance, pretending to be shocked and stricken by grief. The paramedics announced her death as suicide. That would have been that. But Orit's family were in disbelief. She was perfectly healthy with no reason to take her own life. They disputed the official conclusion. Orit's father requested an autopsy. Shimon initially objected vehemently, but realizing this made everyone suspicious, he finally relented. The autopsy revealed cerebral edema and pulmonary edema, but no substances were found. The cause of death was simply ruled as unclear. After mourning, Shimon inherited the apartment, sold it immediately, and moved into Sharona's home. He refused to let Orit's parents see their grandchildren. Shimon and Sharona married. Even though she knew about the suicide ruling, Shimon told his second wife that Orit had actually passed away from cancer. He regularly subjected Sharona to manipulation, abuse, and on at least one occasion, he raped her. But Sharona was terrified and never came forward. With his fictitious Mossad background, she assumed that the powers that be would intervene to cover up the crimes of their agent. She felt helpless. Sharona tried to divorce him, but Shimon remained resistant, tracking her down and attacking her until a restraining order was finally issued. Both were arrested for fraud. While Sharona was eventually released, this was the final straw. She mustered the courage and told her parents everything. Shimon screamed and got angry, smashing Sharona's phone while her father called Shimon's mother and demanded she take her son away. Sharona's parents were equally abusive toward her. She grew up with a father who openly told her she was worthless and deserved to get hurt. Sharona tried to divorce him, but Shimon remained resistant, tracking her down and attacking her until a restraining order was finally issued. When Sharona's family moved out Shimon's belongings, they found a forbidden storage shed filled with pornographic videos and military attire. Inside the attic, they discovered a surplus of shovels, gardening, and construction equipment. But the most alarming discovery was in the bedroom. Inside Shimon's dresser, the family discovered 6 new packs of sleeping pills and tranquilizers hidden behind the drawers. Valium and Acivil. Sharona was deeply traumatized, uncovering proof that he was likely planning on murdering her. She lived in constant fear that Shimon might return. One day at Mir Hospital, Sharona was horrified to see Shimon enter the ER for an unrelated matter. Fortunately, he never saw her. After his divorce, Shimon returned to Isle in 1999 and met Jenny Morheim, a divorced woman living with her 2 daughters. He told her the same lies. Shimon told Jenny he was a POW and a Mossad agent. Eventually, they married on August 13, 2007, in Cyprus. But trouble was brewing. Shimon applied for kibbutz membership. For the first time, someone ran a background check. They saw he had lied about nearly every aspect of his past. His membership was swiftly denied. Shimon protested, accusing the kibbutz of trying to exile them. Jenny was torn between her community and her husband. In 2006, Shimon met Dr. Maria Zakotsky, an anesthesiologist. He told her he was single and had a high-paying job in the security services. Shimon and Maria began a relationship. Shimon was now lying to both Maria and Jenny so he could meet up with them without the other knowing. He drafted a document giving him the right to inherit Jenny's home and began hounding her to sign a will leaving all assets to him. She was in perfect health. He told Jenny's parents and friends that her health was declining, claiming she had sleep apnea and had even attempted suicide. It was all a lie. He forcibly brought Jenny to a hospital for difficult breathing. She was discharged after 2 hours when her results came back completely normal. Jenny's parents lived in a Jaffa apartment registered in her name. In the event of her death, Shimon would inherit that as well. He was closing in. In August 2009, Shimon asked Maria for a fatal medical substance that would leave no trace. He said Mossad needed him for a secret assassination. Maria accepted his story at face value. She stole succinylcholine from her workplace and told Shimon exactly how to administer it via a syringe. On the night of August 20, 2009, Shimon injected the succinylcholine into Jenny as she slept. He then staged the scene with pill bottles just like before. The pathologist ruled it heart failure. Despite Jenny's family being deeply skeptical and protesting, the police once again closed the case as suicide or natural causes. Shimon acted like he inherited everything, refusing to let Jenny's daughters take her letters or albums. He even burned their photo albums in spite. Shimon had gotten away with double murder with zero scrutiny. That is, until investigative journalist Omri Assenheim heard a mother's story in Isle. In 2010, the program Uvda released a report entitled The Mystery of the Double Widower, exposing Shimon's fabricated past on the national stage, questioned the near-identical circumstances of his wife's deaths, and even aired an interview with Sharona. Shimon was furious and filed a massive libel lawsuit against the broadcasting company and the Uvda crew, claiming they distorted the truth. Shimon began suffering damages and tried to intimidate Omri, staring him down from a white car. He even accused the kibbutz of distributing swastika flyers. The police searched Shimon's home and found dozens of swastika flyers, brand new and unused. He likely printed them himself to frame the kibbutz. He even staged a dummy bomb under his car to frame his enemies. Shimon spent the entire time recording everything from his balcony. The police had secretly reopened the investigation. The lead investigator worked day and night, keeping everything quiet so Shimon wouldn't flee. On October 29, 2012, the police arrested Maria. She eventually agreed to testify against Shimon, realizing she too had been manipulated and was a potential victim. On October 30th, Shimon was arrested at court while showing up for Maria. He remained calm, leading detectives to conclude he was an absolute psychopath. Shimon was indicted for Jenny's murder and Orit's murder nearly 20 years prior. He reluctantly withdrew his lawsuit and paid legal costs. His trial dragged on for 3 years. It was hard to prove after so much time, especially in Orit's case. They had motive and odd behavior, but no physical proof. Shimon was callous. He didn't attend Orit's funeral and didn't even know where she was buried. He was too busy moving Maria into Jenny's home. Maria testified about his request for untraceable drugs. Jenny's daughter also testified about her mother's final, apathetic phone call before her death. Sharona told the story of his abuse and the stash of drugs found in his room. The defense argued the case was purely circumstantial. Shimon's go-to phrase was, "I don't remember." He even accused Sharona of being a psychopath, despite her being a victim of his torture. As the prosecution pointed out his lies, Shimon grew enraged, calling the prosecutor a liar and telling the judge he was trying not to lash out. On June 28, 2016, the court found Shimon Cooper guilty of both murders. The judges delivered a scathing rebuke toward the police for their earlier failure. Shimon was slapped with 2 life sentences. He stormed out of the hearing, yelling his innocence while still fighting to hang on to his inheritance. Even in prison, he didn't stop. He and a new girlfriend tried to frame a 94-year-old Holocaust survivor to become beneficiaries of her estate. It failed. In 2022, his appeal was denied. Shimon Cooper was made to serve his 2 life sentences without modification. Justice was finally fully served. Sharona used her experience to bring awareness to domestic violence, publishing her memoir, Living with a Murderer and Staying Alive, as a guide for others. Shimon Cooper will spend the rest of his life behind bars, a con artist whose web of lies finally caught up with him. Thank you for watching.